This is Extra Paycheck Podcast, episode number 32.
Okay, number one thing, learn everything that you can as fast as you can, and then stop learning and start doing.
You're listening to Extra Paycheck Podcast, where you will learn how to build and grow your own successful online business. Now, here's your host, Alex Soul.
Welcome to yet another episode of Extra Paycheck Podcast. This is episode number 32, and today's special guest is Matt Ward. Matt has done a lot of great things. He is running an awesome podcast called FBA Allstars, and today he will be sharing some amazing advice on how you can become a super seller and a successful entrepreneur using Amazon as a platform. So enjoy today's episode. Hi, Matt, and welcome to the Extra Paycheck Podcast.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for having me on, man.
Matt, please tell us a little bit more about your personal story and what is that you do as a business or businesses in your case.
Hey, what up, guys? Thanks for tuning in. So, my story. Okay. Basically, I started out and I was always the guy good at math and science. So I'm going to become the engineer, right? I like solving problems. I'm doing that. I'm in corporate America, and I cannot stand it. The same little cog in the wheel every single day. I'm sure the majority of your listeners are pretty familiar with this from their own life of, I can't do corporate America anymore. So I decided I want to get into my own business stuff. I played around with some of the VC style apps, the things that are the dream big and never accomplish anything, and failed miserably with that. I got into e-commerce and drop shipping, which I'm personally not a big fan of. I've ventured through crowdfunding, which I've always been a fan of physical products. I launched a podcast called Art of the Kickstart, which was basically helping people to crowdfund. Turns out crowdfunders don't make great clients because when you want to make money, people don't necessarily have money to pay you. And then I stumbled into my own physical products in China that I was working on and eventually found my way in a very roundabout way through podcasts, entrepreneurship, and meeting tons of cool people out in Southeast Asia about Amazon FBA, creating your own products and brands, and selling things online. So that's kind of what I do now.
That's really awesome, man. And I've tried Amazon FBA, and for those who might not know, it means fulfilled by Amazon, which is basically that you send your products into Amazon and they deal with shipping them and packaging them and so on, right?
Exactly. So basically, when you have a physical product, there's two primary challenges. That's the cash up front in terms of, okay, you need to invest this much to get product, and then it's actually shipping it. So imagine selling 10, 20, 30, 100, 1,000 things a day and then shipping it out to customers. Amazon makes it really easy in terms of fulfillment. So they kind of simplify the process, and that's why Amazon FBA has become so big. That and the fact that Amazon is a massive buyer channel. That's where people go to buy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I love about it, that just like you mentioned, this is a buying channel. And I think some people don't get to which extent it is and what it really means. You know, it's like people go on Google to research stuff and doesn't mean they want to buy it. When someone goes to Amazon, it's pretty much they have their wallet in front of them and they're ready to shell out the money and they already know what they want, or, you know, at least they have a really good idea of what they already want to buy.
Yeah, conversion rates are like 10x on Amazon versus a traditional e-commerce store. If you get 1 or 2% in an e-commerce store, you're doing pretty good. Amazon 10, 20, 30, up to like 50%. That's not unheard of, depending on the product, what it is, how focused people are in terms of buying that. It's just people go there to buy stuff. Their credit card's already on file. They don't even have to take it out. They just click add to cart and done, 2-day shipping, and bing, bang, boom.
Yeah, that is awesome. And I wanted to mention another thing about Amazon is that, let's say in my case, right? The shipping, if I would like to sell locally in Canada, shipping is incredibly expensive, and I didn't really even realize how expensive it was. So I'll give you an idea, Matt, because you might not know that. Let's say to send an item of a shape of a lipstick, right? You could imagine how small it is.
Yeah.
It'll cost me about, last time I shipped it, I think it was $12 Canadian, which is at this moment about $10 US to ship such a small item. And it doesn't make any sense. And this is regardless if I want to ship it locally in Canada, I could ship it to my neighbor. It'll cost me that much. Or I could ship it all the way to the US and it'll cost me about the same thing. So that item, when I send these items to Amazon, right? So Amazon fulfills the orders of Prime members for free, as in they don't charge them for shipping. And those who don't have Prime, they pay like $2 or $3 for shipping. So, it makes a lot of sense when you're trying to sell something for 10 or 15 bucks and people see that the shipping is also 10 bucks, they just wouldn't buy it. It's incredibly expensive. But when the shipping is only $2, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, Amazon's so big. They have so much volume going through them that they have special arrangements worked out with basically all the shippers. Like, guys, look, we're going to send 100 billion bajillion units through here. You're going to give us the best rates ever because we're Amazon. And if you sell on Amazon, then you get to take advantage of Amazon's rates, which is very, very convenient for all of the shipping and goodness.
Yeah, it is. And Matt, I'll tell you another story here. So I jumped on Amazon FBA recently, this year, in 2015, because I have not heard of it before somehow. Well, I mean, I've heard of it in 2014, not before that. And my thought was always when I would buy stuff or look at stuff on Amazon, right, I would think that those are big established stores. They're selling stuff. And I'm talking about the likes of Walmart, And when I realized that all those stores selling all those items were just like little guys selling it from their basement, I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them are, I was blown away. I was like, really? This is like small, like regular people, not even like big companies selling this stuff, and I could be one of them? That's just incredible. And am I wrong at finding that out in 2014, or do you think it was somewhat obscure and not really out there?
I think it was definitely somewhat obscure and not really out there. You might have even got started slightly before I did, but I think the tendency with these kind of things is there's always early adopters. Early adopters are the ones that get in really early. They make a lot of money doing something, and it's really hush-hush. It's not really all that common. Most people, when you talk about anything related to internet marketing, whether it's email marketing, autoresponders, anything like that, most people just kind of scratch their head and go, so what are you talking about? But once you start to get into this space, whether it's Amazon, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's affiliate marketing, crowdfunding, etc., once you start to learn more about it, then you realize, wow, I can actually do this. I mean, I personally know people that are doing hundreds of thousands a month in revenue, people that are absolutely killing it with Amazon. And you'd think, oh my God, this is like a massive brand. This might be like a person with a couple of virtual assistants or a small team helping them build this. They're working with factories in China. There's the beautiful thing that I love about Amazon FBA and why I was so against it initially, because it just felt too easy, is it is almost too easy in that it becomes very passive. Now, there are, of course, major dangers or problems associated with it. Primarily, you're playing on Amazon's playground. I always like to be completely upfront with that. And if Amazon wants to kick you off, if things change, if anything goes wrong, you're screwed. It's over. That's okay. That just kind of is how it works, and you're playing by those rules because you know that the rewards can be so fast and so explosively profitable. And that's why a lot of people are getting into it. It's definitely becoming a lot more of a hot topic trend as more of the really expensive courses that people like to pay for are becoming more and more popular. Personally, if you guys want to learn about it, I would check out FBAAllstars.com. It's just a free podcast where I more or less break down everything. Another great one is the amazing seller, Scott Volker. He helped me quite a bit as well. Those two are both two free resources that can definitely help you guys get going.
Yeah, both great podcasts. I do listen to both of them, actually, so I know what you're talking about here.
Thanks, man.
So if possible, could you share like in I guess a short story, the basic story of how it's done, because you said that it's so easy, it's almost unbelievable that something could be that easy. So how does one become an FBA seller and gets a product out there, especially if they don't have a physical product already made?
Okay, so let's kind of talk. We'll go through this a little bit, and you can cut in wherever you want to, Alex.
Sure.
But let's say I want to start a product. I want to start a new brand, and I don't really know what I'm doing necessarily. Well, what you're doing is you're not necessarily looking for a new invention, a new product. You're looking for something that's selling. And if someone's selling something, you might be able to sell that something better than someone else is selling that something. That's what the goal of Amazon FBA is. You want to become a brand or a product that would be featured in Walmart because people buy stuff from Walmart. So that's what we're doing. How you get started, go to Amazon, start browsing through some of the bestseller or popular pages to see what products are selling really well. Amazon has something called a bestseller rank, and that basically ranks products in the categories sports, home and garden, kitchen, patio, all of those kind of things. So products are ranked based off of how they sell compared to other products. So if one's doing 10 a day, another's doing 100 a day, one's doing 5 a day, that's how the rankings all work. And you can look at those numbers. They're from 0 to 100 or 200,000. The smaller the number, the better it's selling. Anything under 100 and it's selling like God. And that's kind of how you figure out what's selling. You want to look at things that are selling profitably, though, not just selling. Toilet paper, you're not going to build a great business around it. So you want to typically find something that's under 2 pounds, less than 18 inches, price point somewhere between $15 to $60 or so, because that's when people are willing to just hit, okay, add to cart without really putting too much of a thought into it. And that those impulse buys are a lot of what you're going to be building around. So this is all just kind of product research stuff. There are a lot of things that come into play, though. So just because you sell a product doesn't mean you're going to actually sell a product. You absolutely need to have people find you. That comes down to marketing. That comes down to ranking higher. How it works in Amazon, it's like Google. You search for something and results pop up. Well, if you're not on that first page, you're not getting anything. The number one guy is going to get the most, number two, yada, yada, yada. So you want to rank higher. So rankings are based off of how effectively people are selling. So if your keyword's can opener, let's say we're selling can openers, and one guy's selling 10 can openers a day when people are searching for can opener, and another guy's selling 2, well, the 10 is going to be ranked higher. It's based off of sales through keywords and reviews. So you can look at the reviews on Amazon. And just to preface this, guys, go to FBAAllstars.com because this is really, really long-winded, and I apologize because this is going to be confusing, but you'll catch on. It's really easy once you think about it and once you get it going. So this is all just for product research, for finding out what looks like, okay, this is an opportunity. Because once there's an opportunity, that's when you're able to jump. That's when you make big money. So let's say we found our product and we want to sell it, and we're going to sell sexy toe socks, and we need to find somewhere to get those from. So I like Alibaba. Alibaba is more or less the Craigslist of everything. This is where everything the world produces can be found. You can connect with suppliers. Get on there and start getting quotes for your toe socks. You can just post a buying request and people will start to message you. You can also search through and see, oh, I kind of like those. Those are a little nice. I'll shoot them a message and start to interact with the customer or with the factory. So there's going to be a minimum order quantity, and that's basically the minimum number that you can order. So if you think about it from a factory's point of view, they want to sell a lot of product because that's how they make money. So the more that you're able to order, the better in terms of pricing. We won't get too far into that, but that's how you kind of find a product. So now you've got your product. Now, FBA, it's also referred to as private labeling. So with Amazon wants to drive the prices down. The reason that FBA sellers or people are selling on there so effectively is creating their own brands or their own products. So let's say I sell toe socks and you want to sell toe socks, Alex. Well, my brand's going to be called Six-Toed Sexy or something. And you come up with your own. You come up with your own brand, and yours is like Bearded Brothers Toe Socks, because I see you have an awesome beard in your picture. And you create the brand, you start to build this. Well, now you're building your brand, and that's kind of what differentiates you from other people. Maybe you throw in special things with your products. Maybe you have a bit of a different focus in the branding, the packaging, whatever it is. You're going to get all of this set up with your supplier initially. So you probably want to get logos of your stuff on your product or on the packaging so someone else can't just come in and rip off your product. And now you've got your stuff made. Okay, you've placed your order, and you're go through Alibaba for trade assurance. You'll figure out what that means when you get to it. And now you've got your order, and it's coming into Amazon. You're really excited. There's lots of ways to ship it. We're not going to cover any of those because that's way too much for now. So your stuff's coming into Amazon. And the product's there. Oh my God, it's there. It's time. It's live. Well, now here's where the other big part comes, and that's marketing. Marketing is enormous. So we want to sell your stuff. That's going to come down to getting sales fast. There's giveaways, there are review clubs, there's lots of black hat, white hat, gray hat things. I like to play somewhere between all of those. And you need to basically get people buying your product. Think about it like when a company gives away free samples. You're more or less giving away free samples of your product to get reviews. Reviews are what's going to boost it's basically customer support, social proof, which are going to boost your conversions, help you sell more product. You're also going to want to turn on PPC. PPC or sponsored ads with Amazon are incredibly effective at selling your product. So now you've got your stuff in there starting to sell, and you are more or less a private label seller. You have kind of seen some of the steps. This is kind of what goes into it. That was really long-winded, so let me cut myself off right there. Sound good?
Great story, Matt. Yeah, that was really detailed, actually. As in, try to explain to someone how it works, basically, right? As you mentioned, there's so many more details, and there's, we could probably spend hours and hours talking just about the research, then spend hours talking about the shipping, then hours to talk about selecting a proper supplier in Asia.
Absolutely. It's absolutely nuts. Research is a big part of it, though. I'm just going to throw a link to one of the episodes, FBA we'll have it be /8. I'll just create that link for you guys. But that's basically a pretty powerful one going through research with Greg Mercer. There's some software tools out there like Jungle Scout, which is really good for automating some of the research processes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome, and I'll be linking to all the resources that you mentioned in the show notes page once the episode is released. So, guys, that's it. That's the FBA, and what I find really awesome about it is that I find that you don't really do anything once it's set up. You don't really have to, you're not doing a 9 to 5 working on your product. Let's say once again, it's harder than it really is, or vice versa. I'm not even sure. The thing is, once your product is live on Amazon and it has started selling, and if it sells rather well, you don't have to keep running around and trying to make every sale happen. Sales just start happening by themselves, and then you just keep reordering from China. Let's say the product goes directly to Amazon, and Amazon sells it for you. They package it for you. They take care of the billing. They take care of everything. You just sit there and look at your sales going up. And yes, I think that's the awesome part.
That is the awesome part. You could definitely run an FBA business on half an hour or an hour a day. And that said, though, a lot of people are looking to scale. Like for myself personally, I've been very open about this on my podcast. More or less, my goal is a 7-figure exit 12 months into my business. And that means I'm pushing really, really hard on launching new products, constantly looking for new opportunities and constantly improving things. But you don't have to do that. You can create, whether you're trying to create a small income to go on along the side with your current day job, whether you're trying to build something so you can quit the day job, or you want to build an absolute empire. There's a lot of different things that you can do, and it's beautiful because it can be so passive.
Yeah. And so that's a huge difference. And a lot of people, I've seen quite a few people who did build, small empires and small fortunes on Amazon. And just like anything else, any kind of work online or, any business in general, if you wanted to make it big and you want to make good income and you want it to be your main income, then of course you'll have to work really, really hard. And in your case, as you said, expanding your line of products and keep finding new products to launch and launching them. And, that's a lot of work. That sounds actually like more than a 9 to 5. That sounds like a 6 to 8, 6 days a week, what you're doing. But if that's your goal, that you have to do that. You have to work hard. Guys, once again, there's no shortcut to riches or to success. If you want to succeed and you want to make a lot of money, you'll have to work hard. You'll have to work really smart, but mostly you'll have to work hard.
Work hard, work smart, and make sure you're working smart. That's definitely something that I've learned with Amazon is there's a massive upfront cost into working on it, but it is smart in that it pays out over the long term. I know a lot of businesses and a lot of models don't necessarily do that. It's all about Pareto's principle. Look at efficiency. Look at what you can do to batch things. I've been getting very into batching lately in terms of when you're messaging suppliers. Okay, I'm going to copy paste this to 15 different suppliers because now I don't have to deal with asking you all these questions or answering all of those. I'm just going to get you off of there. Okay, we'll get you to email. We'll get you to Skype. Okay, reaching out for reviews, launching a product like this, setting up product pages like this. The more you can systemize things, the easier it's going to make it on you, and likely the more successful the business will be as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, batching is great, and I try to do it from time to time. And I guess sometimes I miss the opportunity to do it. I just don't realize the certain tasks that I do in my daily life, especially when it comes to online business, that I could actually, batch it. So I don't do it, but I try to, and it saves a lot of time.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely not good about everything. I've always got the emails popping in. It's nuts. Right now, I'm sourcing some new products on a new brand I'm launching with a partner and some other stuff. And it's just, when you have that and you have a bajillion different suppliers trying to get back to you on all of these products, my email refreshes every 15 minutes from Bluehost, and there'll be another 15 emails from the last 15 minutes. And I'm just like, oh, God, kill me now.
That's funny. And you know what I do? Right now, I actually started doing that. I started putting my phone on mute, not on vibrate, on mute completely, because every 30 seconds I get a notification, either email or, Periscope, Twitter, or, a sale coming from here or there, or somebody's asking questions. But the phone is always ringing. There's always notifications. And I cut myself looking at it every time it makes a noise, right? So sometimes it could be every 10 seconds. I pick up my phone and I look, what's up? Why does it ring? Who wants what? And this is incredibly destructive when you try to do anything, when you try to concentrate. So now I just put it on mute and I don't touch it sometimes for an hour or more. And that actually has made me really happy and a lot more productive.
Oh, yeah, that's a great hack. Yeah, just put it face down on something soft. Even then, if the vibrate's on, you can't hear it.
And, I do it in working hours. When I decide, okay, I'm going to work, let's say, from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m., this is where you can't reach me. I'm sorry, but, I know it could be an emergency, but, well, I'm working. You can't reach me. That's an extreme measure, but I guess in my case, this is what I have to do.
No, you're right. I like it.
Okay, Matt. So I guess we'll keep that Amazon theme going on. I think this is the first episode that I'm concentrating on Amazon here, and I'm really happy we're doing that because I wanted to share that opportunity with a lot of people, with the listeners, and I guess many of them don't know about it for the same reasons as I didn't know about it. It seems like you mentioned as well, sometimes it seems like it's a big company and a whole bunch of people working on a product line, and in the end it's just one guy doing it. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about branding and creating your own company. How hard is that when we're talking about Amazon?
I think it's as easy or as hard as you want to make it. So what it comes down to is the brand that's what sets you apart. That's the differentiator. And there's two mindsets when it comes to Amazon or most business. There's fast cash and then there's long-term success. And it depends on what you're trying to create. If you want to build a product or you want to build an Amazon seller account, build a brand that makes a ton of money really fast, maybe you sell shady stuff or maybe you're selling great stuff, but you just want to make money really fast, you don't necessarily have to focus on any of the brand stuff, any of the long-term stuff, the connecting with customer stuff, because you're making money fast, you're putting it in your pocket, you're stacking the cash, as people like to say. But if you want to build something that's bigger, if you want to build something where customers are going to connect with that, where you might have an online presence, you might even retail or go into wholesale distribution, then building the brand is going to be more important. Also, even with the short-term stuff, though, anything that sets you apart from your competitors is going to give you a leg up. So personally, I think branding is pretty important. I want to make sure that I have a cool brand name, get the domain name, otherwise it's just a waste of time, and make sure that you're having something that's really focused on the customer. So whether you're selling to chefs and you want to have more of a cuisine-focused brand, whether you're selling to athletes and you want it to be like a pump-up, balls to the wall kind of thing, Think about what appeals to those kind of people. So what you can have one Amazon seller account, and you can have different brands underneath that. That's actually recommended because it's going to help you rank faster and look better in the eyes of Amazon. But in terms of differentiating your brands, I would make sure that everything is very, very unique, very, very targeted towards who the person is. For myself personally, I've gotten logos created. I've gotten packaging and design stuff created on Fiverr. Fiverr is great if you go through there and find high quality people. You can also use 99 Designs. You can use Odesk. We're not going to be calling it Upwork or anything like that. And all of those can be great towards getting some of that stuff done. But then branding, which people kind of avoid, they kind of disregard. People think, oh, I'm going to get a domain name. I'm going to get a logo. Look at my brand. How beautiful is this? But also it's how you interact with customers. Whether you're sending people kind of canned, ugly responses, whether you're going, our company does not yada yada, or if you're being a bit more personal, you're being more honest with people, you're sending them replacements if something goes wrong, you're doing whatever you can to make sure they're happy. All of that goes into the brand satisfaction, and how people think about your company. So I like to tie all of those things in together, and I think brand is what really separates a great business from an okay one. Brand is what's going to help you sell your I'm looking to sell my company. You're going to get higher multiples. The bigger and more established your brand is, the more people care about it, the more that you have something, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you, man. And I think it is important also to build a brand, especially, as you mentioned, when you're trying to build something of a long term. So it's, you never know where it's going to go. And if you're building the long term, it could become like the biggest business of your life or the biggest opportunity or something like that. You never know that. And tell me, in your case, so you do get a domain name, but do you build a brand and a brand awareness outside of Amazon? Do you do social media for your brands, and do you sell your products more specifically outside of Amazon, or directly on your website or some other channels? Or do you only do Amazon and you brand it strictly within Amazon?
I could almost say that I'm only on Amazon. I have an e-commerce Shopify store. I've had 3 sales on that bad boy. So that's just an absolute nightmare. That's like 0.001% or something of what I've actually sold. It's just, that is not going at all. The marketing AdWords stuff, I need to learn that. I've been trying to do that and losing tons of money. And Amazon's been going so well that I've shut off a lot of the AdWords. That said, I want to own the playground, so to speak. So I'll be hopping on that bandwagon. I've done a bit of SEO content stuff, a lot of my own articles that I've created, and I have Facebook-related things. These aren't related to the brand themselves, but they're more fan pages like, I love cooking, I love sports, I love this or that, and building that up with small marketing budgets to build up the likes and such to send people to traffic. I am doing that because I know that is smart to be doing in the future, and I am not at all successfully doing that with making money from that now. That is something I need to definitely get more into. I've also learned a bit more about Pinterest and Instagram, so I'll be looking at those in terms of e-commerce acquisition channels in the future too.
Yeah, it really depends what you're selling, what kind of product, what kind of industry you're in, because sometimes Pinterest could work really well for you, and sometimes it could be a total flop, and not because you didn't try hard, it's just because that specific object that you're trying to promote, right? It just doesn't work on Pinterest. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody likes about it. Same goes to Instagram and Facebook and all the channels. It's sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out what goes where and why it works on one channel and not the other. And for me, let's say on my website as well, what I did finally, I just linked my buy button to my Amazon listing because I was like, well, okay, it's not really working out. Nobody's ordering directly from the website, and if somebody does, and imagine it happens so rarely that there is a chance you'll miss the sale and you'll never ship it out, and then you have an angry customer. So I'm just like, you know what? I'll link my buy button directly to Amazon listing and let them buy there. Offer free shipping for Prime customers, but that's the way it works.
Yeah, I might be into that. We'll see. That's something that I've just avoided making a decision on at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's move on. Another question that I have for you, and this is a question that I see very, very, very often on different FBA related Facebook groups and websites and forums. A lot of people are kind of skeptical about not buying. They're skeptical about sending that final payment to the supplier in, let's say, China. So you found someone who's promising to make you the product. What was you were talking about? A can opener, let's say, right? So you found someone who makes can openers in China. They agreed to put your logo on the can opener. You're paying like, I don't know, 35 cents per item, and you could sell it for probably $10, $15 on Amazon. Great stuff. Shipping is rather cheap. So you're making 1,000. You're ordering 1,000 can openers. The factory said, okay, it's great to go. Just send us the payment. And this is when you start getting scared because you're like, I've never met those people. It's not, it's not.
It just got real.
Exactly. It just got real, seriously. And, it's not eBay that you could send the money and if product never shows up, you could complain and probably get your money back. So you're sending your money, you don't know where, and it's real. It's getting real. Now you're getting cold feet and you're like, well, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe, I'm going to get scammed, or maybe it's too big of an undertaking. So what happens at this moment? What do we do? How do we proceed?
So there's a couple different things. I've always heard, I haven't always heard, I've recently heard, but I want to bring it up because I think it's a great point. Never go into a business with someone for a bigger amount than you're able to walk away from. And I think that's definitely something that you should think about, anyone that's getting started in business. But personally, so there's a couple things. I like to go through Alibaba. Alibaba has something called trade assurance, which means more or less in a nutshell, if you get screwed by your factory or your factory gets screwed by you, then the party that gets taken advantage of, they can get the first part of the payment back. So let's say your payment terms are 50-50. That means you're paying 50% upfront to place the order, and then 50% when those can openers ship, air freight, whatever it ends up being. So the first half of the payment would be trade assured by Alibaba. That means it's going through Alibaba's payment platform via wire transfer, and information is getting uploaded into that. I would definitely take advantage of that if you can with your supplier. I would push for that and not really take no for an answer unless there's a really darn good reason why. Sometimes the payment terms are different. They can be 30-70. I've done 20-80 with suppliers that couldn't do Alibaba, and those just make it so it's more advantageous for you. The other thing you can look at besides wire transfers, you're going to be paying a little bit of a fee to send money to China, typically like $45, which it's annoying. It kind of adds up. You can potentially use PayPal as well. Chinese suppliers aren't going to be thrilled about this because they have extra fees from this. And that actually protects you, though, in terms of PayPal, because you're able to say, yeah, the supplier, I want to get my money back, yada, yada. But I've had small challenges with this. I had a large percentage of my product 3 show up rusted, and that was a nightmare to deal with. And even the trade assurance, that was Alibaba was there to kind of help me, but things got sorted out in the end. But what I would personally say is, if you've been interacting with the supplier, if you trust the supplier, then that means it's kind of time to go. Why are you getting cold feet? It's probably not so much about the money as it is about the holy shit, it just got real. Now I'm actually on the line kind of deal. It's not necessarily that you're worried about losing the money, but it was that nothing felt real before this. So now all of a sudden everything's real. Money's on the line, and there's not really a lot of backing out, and you're trying to find a reason to back out. So I would push forward with it if everything looks legit. If you've looked at the supplier, they seem to be legitimate. They've had orders through Alibaba. You can find them online, and everything seems okay. You're probably okay to go. But at the same time, due diligence, and of course, Alex and I are totally not liable for this terrible advice.
Yeah. So when I was placing my first order, when I was ready to do it, let's back up a bit. I wasn't even ready to place my order. I told my supplier what I want, and they were working out the invoice for my order, and it was a really small order. It was almost a sampler order, and I spent a full day researching that manufacturer online. And even managed to find pictures of their factory, like taken from the street. This is how far I went to just make sure that they're a real company. And, it was a bit too extreme because I think my total order was like $300 or something. It's like pretty much anyone could afford to lose this kind of money. So it wasn't about the money. It was once again, like you mentioned, looking for an excuse, I guess, to back out and be like, hey, those things don't add up. So these guys are probably not a real company and I don't want to deal with that. So let's just, cancel the order and not go through with it.
Yeah, there's so many hurdles. There's so many doubts. And people want to have like, oh, I didn't do it because of this, man. They want to be able to tell themselves something. Just go for it. If you're ready, if you put in all the due diligence, if you know what you need to know, then you're already ready to go. Yeah, that rhymed.
Nice one. Okay, so we have our supplier. They sent us the product. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention for you because so you get a better idea of what we have to deal here in Canada when it comes to Amazon. So the very first order that I got shipped, and I recommend this to all the listeners, I recommend to get it shipped, if possible, to you directly, so you could inspect the shipment. What happened in my case that about 10% of the order was damaged due to it wasn't packaged properly, basically. So all the items that were in the corners of the box, they were all broken or scratched up, or it wasn't sellable, and it was about 10% of the order, which is quite a bit. And the supplier promised to send that whatever was broken, to send in a new batch free of charge with the next order, of course. But I was really, really happy that I actually got to look at the items before sending them to Amazon because, imagine that. Imagine 10% of your customers on Amazon would receive like a broken item. That would be pretty bad.
Yeah, my product 3, I found out I was initially told 50% had rusted to hell. Eventually, the numbers got changed, but imagine if I had sent that straight to Amazon.
Yep, that would have been really bad. Yeah, another thing here that what we get is in US, I believe that up to $2,000 or $3,000 worth of products, you don't even usually get charged by the customs, or I think it's like 3 or 4% in the US, but often when it's a smaller order, they don't even charge you that because it's too much of a hassle for them to do for such a small amount of money. Here in Canada, in Quebec, more specifically in the Eastern Canada, we were charged 22% on a few $100 order. So this adds up. And imagine we order for like a few $1,000s, right? Let's say $10,000, and you get charged 22% customs. That would be like a big addition to the final cost of the product. So that's another reason why I'm doing FBA Amazon.com and not .ca. And I think the next order of the product that I would like to sell on Amazon, I think I'm actually planning to have it shipped to US, and there are 2 ways to go about it. So I guess this is more specific to Amazon sellers who want to sell on Amazon.com and who are not based in US. One of the obvious ways to do is to actually go to US, and there are many places where you could receive your product, whatever it is, shipped into a US address, and then you could inspect it yourself once you're there. Or there's another business that has been created specifically for that, and I'm not sure how they call them. It's like quality control firms,
like product inspection stuff.
There you go, product inspection. You could actually hire a company or a person who would receive your product instead of you in the US, and they would inspect your items, and if everything checks out, they will repackage it and send it finally to the Amazon warehouse, which is another way of doing it if you cannot inspect them yourself for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's been tough because I've been in Thailand. That's definitely an issue with people living abroad.
Yeah, that's a good question. But do you have someone who receives them for you there, like someone that you know, or you're hiring an inspection agency?
So for my first shipment, when I was first working on this, I figured I will send this to family and have them deal with it. And I had 1,500 pounds of product, close to 700 kilograms for people that are not familiar, arrive at my family's home right prior to a big party. So I decided not to do that again because that was like a driveway full. And I've been using product inspection freight forwarding services since then to help with some of those logistics.
Mm-hmm. And has that been working out well for you?
Yeah, it's worked out well. There's been some hassles involved with it, but I would love to be in complete control of that myself, but we have to compromise sometimes.
Yeah, and that's actually a good idea, I think, because in one of the previous episodes we talked about one of the previous episodes of this podcast, we talked about delegating, outsourcing, and optimizing your time, your efforts, everything. And I think this is one of the things that will help you in business for all the years to come. You know, if you learn how to delegate and how to let others do a part of your work, something that obviously you don't really need to do. And, you know, in your case, you're not doing it simply because you're not in the US physically at the moment. And I think that would actually help you to build that kind of, you know, trust in other people, that you could hire someone to do part of your job and doesn't have to involve you as much as you think it should.
Yeah, otherwise it's not a business. You got to outsource. You got to get rid of the stuff you're not good at, you don't want to do, and aren't high value, and focus on where you really grow the business.
Yeah, and yeah, this is crazy because if you are the business, then once you can't do something, the business doesn't work, and that would kind of suck.
Yeah, that would not be too fun. Getting hit by a bus would be like getting hit by a bus twice.
All right, Matt. I guess we are going to finish this episode soon, and I have a few more questions for you. Well, first one being, well, let's get back to Amazon. What would be your main suggestion, your biggest advice to someone who wants to become an FBA seller, an Amazon seller? Like one main suggestion.
Okay, number one thing, learn everything that you can as fast as you can, and then stop learning and start doing, because that's more or less how you succeed in anything.
That's awesome. And yeah, that applies to a lot of businesses, I think, to a lot of online businesses and, you know, offline business as well. And I think another thing to put in here to kind of extend it a little bit is to don't learn more than you need to learn, because it never ends, right? Once you start learning branding, and then you could spend like 3 years learning how to brand yourself, and that's useless when you're starting, you know, business and you want to get it out as soon as possible. So just like Matt said, learn as much as you need to learn, and then start taking action and stop learning as soon as you know what you need to know about the specific business or project. Just stop learning and start doing. Great advice, man. Another question, the last one would be, what would be your main suggestion to any kind of beginner entrepreneur? And we're not talking only Amazon, any kind of business they want to start, online or offline, regardless. What is the main thing that you would suggest?
What are you good at? What do you like doing? What are people willing to spend money for? And who has the money? Find the four little places where those kind of go together and build a business around that. It doesn't necessarily have to be what you do long term. It can be something where you're just making money. But when you're first getting started, that's the most important thing. When you start making money, that's when you become an entrepreneur and opportunities open up. If you have more money, you can invest more money. You can get into FBA and make tons of money. You can start investing in other things. But I would say focus on those. What are you good at? Where's the money at? What do you enjoy doing? And I imagine there was something else, but I can't remember what I said. Basically, those three things where they kind of come together, that's a good place to make money. Also, emulate someone who's successful. So if you can find a mentor, someone to work under, or you can find proven systems, not ones you have to spend thousands of dollars, but ones that are readily available. If people are podcasting like Alex or other great places, and you can learn what you need to do that. And then just start doing it, because once you start doing it, you're going to learn a heck of a lot more.
Great advice, Matt. And I often tell people that I don't really listen to what the gurus are saying, but I look at what they're doing, because if I want to achieve similar results to what they're achieving, I prefer to look at how they're achieving those results rather than really paying attention to every word they say, because they could say things, they see them and they may not see them exactly the way they're doing stuff. So I really like to look at the people who already do what I want to be doing and kind of, try to figure out how they're doing things and how they got to where they got.
The most effective way to make money online is to teach people how to make money online. Don't become a student.
Yeah, that is true, and that kind of really sucks that a lot of people go into the whole online business just thinking of actually that. People say, you know what, I don't know anything, I've never made a single penny online, but I'll start making money by teaching others how to make money. And that kind of that vicious circle and this whole thing that I think gave a bad name to online marketing. But that's the sad reality, and people need to be careful with that.
Yeah, it is. Add some value and you'll probably make it.
There you go. Matt, before you leave, could you give us some ways to get in touch with you and to find out more about you? Once again, share those podcast links and whatnot.
So the best thing that you guys can do, if you want to be awesome, you want to dominate Amazon, or you just want to say hey, come over to FBAallstars.com. That's my podcast. That's where I talk about my Amazon business, break down what's working, what's not, and go through all the strategies for crushing Amazon. You can subscribe on iTunes at FBAallstars.com/iTunes. There's all sorts of free guides, goodies, and lead magnet stuff that you can get on the site. But that's more or less all that you need to get started. Listen through there, see what's happening, learn what you can, and then start taking action, because that's really the only way you're going to see results.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really enjoyed that show, and I really hope some of the listeners will take the right steps and maybe try out that whole FBA game on Amazon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on, Alex. I just kind of started doing it while other things were happening, and it grew to consume my time and overwhelm everything else. I never expected it, and I'm very glad that I got started. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hopefully this wasn't horrible and you learned a thing or two.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Extra Paycheck Podcast. You can find today's show notes page at extrapodcast.com/32. This is where I'll be sharing all the links and resources that we talked about with Matt on today's show. You can subscribe to the Extra Paycheck Podcast on iTunes by simply searching your iTunes store for Extra Paycheck Podcast, or by going to extrapodcast.com/iTunes. If you haven't already, you can always leave a review and a rating. I would greatly appreciate those. So thank you for listening once again, and I'll talk to you next Monday.